Good morning, good afternoon, LinkedIn friends, Value First Nation. Welcome to another episode of Tech Stack Reimagined, building the ultimate AI native workspace. Here with Nico today to just show off as many apps as we can, I think.
Right?
Uh, and I think to seed that in some kind of context or framing, like this is what happens when you build an AI native workspace. So imagine Nico is one man building all these apps. If you create an AI native workspace for your organization and have everybody in a space that can do this and build on each other and share ideas and, kind of like the inner loop that you, me, and George have in Slack, we're just sharing ideas. Like this is the new world we're trying to help you um, jump into today
Mhm.
because every human on the team has or will have some kind of idea that can produce some really valuable outcomes for the team and for your customers and it's just fucking fun, right? Like,
On top of everything else, yeah.
right? So wherever you want to go with that, man.
Um, and it's so funny because it's like at the same time. Okay, so um, if you've seen my profile, um, let me see. Yeah, go ahead with that. Thanks. If you've seen my profile, you've seen that like I have at least like four IDE windows going at the same time. And me and Chris have talked about this a lot. I'm sure that I don't know. I don't know how it works. Really, I don't. And when I say that, I mean like I don't know how it works for developers and coders and stuff like that, like traditional. I don't know if you guys have 4 or 5 windows open at the same time. I don't know, right? Um, for me, it's supernatural. And I don't mean that like superhuman or anything. I mean it's super natural feeling for me to have that many open at once. Um, excuse me. Mainly because they all move just slow enough that you can like fire off the command to one at this, by the time two is ready, then three is ready, then four, and then by the time you do four, one is ready again. Um, it's pretty I have to be building out something from a PRD for me to like set it and forget it at this point. So like things are just rapidly getting thrown together. Um, so to Chris's point, when you're working at that speed, it's really hard not to just be cranking on like multiple ideas at the same time. And what's funny is when we were in office hours, I think 2 weeks ago, and talking to Alexi about it. And she was saying very much the same thing that like, yeah, it's only tough now because of the fact that it feels like it's too slow and it feels like it needs to go faster, right? And I'm sure for most people that probably sounds insanely crazy that you're like not only have we just gotten into AI, but like most everybody is like very much just getting into like agents and oh, this is what agents do. Here's how to use them and all that. And at this cusp already, we're already like well past that to the point where it's like, yeah, but we need it to go like so much faster. Like the whole 3x coding thing at like the gargantuan cost that it is.
Yeah.
Like, wish that that weren't the case, right? But then there's, Minimax, and Minimax is like it's a challenge. It's a serious challenge to max that thing out, right? Um, and that's an open source model. It's out of Singapore, so it's not China. And Singapore is not controlled by China, at least for now. They're working, the motherland is working on a lot of them, but so far Taiwan and Singapore are still sitting outside. Um, so yeah, it's a Singaporean model. I say that only so again, a lot of people are just Chinese models. Um, even when it comes to Kimmy, these are open source models. These aren't closed models. So you can go look at the code anytime you want to. You can run it locally. There's no, like the whole like, oh, it's huge risk or whatever. If it was somebody would have found it by now, right? And I'm sure that somebody has, at least if you're like us, you have agents running on your system that check everything that you're doing, like every 5, 10, 20 minutes, whatever it is. Like I've got a whole series that does security, compliance, reliability, performance, and compatibility, and it runs all 5 of those things every time I want to create a PR. It's got to go through those checks before it goes through GitHub's checks, before it goes through Vercel's checks, right? So, like, and I'm not saying that I use like open source models for work. I'm just saying that at this stage of the game, even the security is like extremely tight, right? Um. So anyhow, yeah, all that to say that it's been a week. I think I've cranked out. So like we have a show coming up in um I say we have a show. We're going to a show in uh at the end of this month. And so the way in which Proven Labs works is counterintuitive to every other type of SaaS company, and we love that. And we're just I'm foaming at the mouth to watch it just sort of like tear a giant hole in subscription SaaS models. So the reason I say that is because we do everything by like one off. So if you buy software from us, it's not something that you're going to have to pay on a monthly basis. It's just something that you own. We customize it for you. Looks the way you want it to look. Operates the way you want it to operate. Bob's your uncle. We'll take care of all the maintenance and stuff and upgrades and all that kind of stuff. So you're paying, it goes back to being the old school model where like, yeah, you buy what you need off the shelf and that's what you get. And then you can do whatever you want. If you want to leave working with us and go work with somebody else, so be it. Doesn't matter to me. I'll even help you offboard in the nicest way possible. Like literally, I'll give you everything you need to offboard. I'll work with whoever you'd want to onboard with. Doesn't matter to me. Um, so that enables me to really explore and build out again, like very much any platform that we have in mind. So if we have a platform for, um, say, doing raffles and doing event registration and doing anything like that, okay, we'll build a platform for it. Um, the way that we looked at it, again, it's 2026. I don't know what to tell you guys. Um, this is just the way that I do things. By all means, feel free to take it, run with it, do whatever you want to, because to me, this is just the way that business should run. It's not like this isn't some sort of, moat that, I have that nobody else has access to. It's just a matter for me. It's like, okay, maybe I'm doing it like faster, but that's about the only thing. Like speed is really the only moat that you could possibly hope for. Um, what I
Yeah,
mean by
speed and agility, I think.
yes,
Um,
yeah,
because uh and like the farther you are away, building away from the LLMs, the frontier labs themselves, those models, the less um you're still going to be way more agile than ever in history, but you risk um, things like Claude shutting off OpenClaw access
Hmm.
if you chose to build on the OpenClaw um, uh, harness or application instead of building it in your own AI native environment. So this is exactly what we're talking about. When if you have the AI native environment in place, you're much more empowered to take a build like Nico's in terms of like why would you want one-offs at this point, right? We're so used to trying to not be responsible for maintenance and building and custom. And I used to be, and I still am on a certain level of like you pick your spots of when to customize and when to standardize. And but it's getting closer and closer to your own space right
Hmm.
now. And the difference between like the whole promise of SaaS originally when we moved from like grab the box of Windows like off of the store shelf, uh, you still had to get support in some way from Windows. And sometimes, like if you're a business, you would have like managed services agreements, like related to getting support. And then you'd have to wait until the next edition came out or Windows cared enough about the problem or, whatever.
Hmm.
SaaS was supposed to make that and did in large part made that a lot more uh let's say consistent in terms of where you could go to get for the support, how quick the response times would be. It was all built into your contract, but
Yep.
you could plan it. um but the when a company like HubSpot starts updating like every single day, right? Compared to like 2 drops a year from like NetSuite and Salesforce and whatever. It was a window into what was about to happen and this agility that you need. Now you can do that on your own, like the closer you are to your AI native workspace. So Nika's like super serious when he says, "Hey, we can build this stuff for you," and then just hand it off. Like there's nothing. The only reason you'd want to stay in that relationship probably is to build more cool shit, right?
Right.
Like on top of it, it's not like daily maintenance. Call up Nico and he's gonna be waiting at the phone to like fix like a property or something,
Right.
right? It's
Right.
it's this other thing of like, oh no, you know how to do that. Like here's it's not even a prompt library. It's just how to manage the day to day and how to become AI native, really, because that's what we're trying to get you to at all costs, because that gives you the speed and the agility you need to differentiate in 2026.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, most most SaaS companies would, you know, there's that whole level of dedication, right? That you usually have to put behind the platform. And I'm not saying that it's irrelevant. All I'm saying is the programmers and developers that you would otherwise need that are in your usual software company, the sort of equivalent of a call center, because they kind of just fix bug, programmers and junior programmers probably just fix bugs a lot of the time, work on stuff, try to see if there's, see if the platform breaks, whatever, testing and all that kind of thing. Well, now you can just do that with agents and you can just have them do all your testing for you and you can have them do all of your journeys for you. Claude can write all of your customer journeys for you from all the different angles so that you can add that to your PRD so that when you're doing the build out, it's actually built out for customer journey and it's not you sitting there saying, oh well, now we have to do this and now we have to sew this in because we forgot this thing and this is how this user moves. And at the same time, I think probably the greatest thing that I loved about starting this company with Will was the fact that we were like, yeah, look, Basically what we want to do is build platforms where one week, we're building this and it's for events, and then the next week we're building something totally different and it's for like like this one in particular is for um finding candidates, job candidates. So it goes through just an insane amount of um dimensional aspects to take a look at who the person is and what they do, what they've done, how likely they are to um, stay in the position they're in. Which I know a lot of people are like, well, there's a lot of job hopping, that kind of stuff goes on now. It's pretty regular. Like, yeah, it really is in that sense, except for the fact that if you're trying to hire for nonprofit, if you're trying to hire for VPs, if you're trying to hire for C-suite, all of those levels do require somebody who's actually going to stick it out. So, yeah, there's definitely different needs for something that goes beyond like, hey, what's your resume say? Right. The way that this functions is it's insane. That's the best way I can put it. And it's actually based on like real psychological testing, and each agent does does the assessment per se. So it's not even like one overall gigantic prompt, this, that, and the other. It's actually 17 individual agents that manage what's going on in the back end. So then we've got applicants, and so then we needed to start working on lead gen. So we put together our own go to market app too. And I haven't put together the product. I think I've got a product page together for it somewhere, maybe. Not yet. I got to put it together. Um, but I mean, I just started working on this a couple 2 days, like yesterday. Yeah, no, Friday. Just started working on it Friday, and here's where we're at. So I just have to test like functionality today. Yeah, so like analytics, and I think Teams still needs to get there. But just in general, um, like most of the general settings are there. They're they are actually um, working in reactive. Um, Went with a slightly different look for buttons and stuff on this one, just like the little embedded look that it can do. Anyway, it has the organizational settings that you would find in Clay and other apps like that. I like previous next because one of the things I hated in Clay was the fact that you could have like whatever 7,000 rows, and then you'd have to actually sit there and scroll through all 7,000 records. Um, this I'm going to enable probably a aspect of it that's like, oh, you can do it this way or that way. Um, and then of course there's enrichment, and this is all done through a backend tool that we use. Um, I wouldn't say it's necessarily proprietary, but it's something like that. Um, so you can enrich by different types, and you can see what the mapping is going to be when it comes out. Um, Input source, whichever one you want to use, whether you want to use pane cluster, word count, source platform, recommended outreach, personalization. And then you could say what the waterfall priority is going to be, whether you want it to go to user, from like pull from email, then pull the user itself. And then if you wanted to pull something based on that user's email, like what their company was or something like that. Um, and what's I think that I put this in already. Maybe. Not sure yet. Hold on. New workbook. Yeah. So I have there's two modes. There's dummy proof and advanced. And advanced is what it sounds like. It lets you tweak kind of all the same stuff that I was doing before. But then dummy proof is supposed to be dummy proof. And this one basically, yeah, so it's like, oh, just create a table. Like it doesn't expect you to understand import, not import. And so it won't let you do things until you do like certain steps basically. um but yeah, for this you can use three different modes. You can actually upload data, you can just copy paste values that you want to do, or you can actually do a search, and you can do a search through all different types of sources. And then you can put whatever your keywords are here. Or if you have a CSV that has that, you can put that in there, and you can run it on a schedule. So if you want to pull in leads on a scheduled basis, you can set that up, set up your keywords and all that kind of thing, create the schedule, and it does just that. It'll pull in rows based on whatever the search findings are. So yeah, so we put that together the other day, and then we also have proven. This one is still in the works, but it should be released this coming week. This is proven copier. So proven copier is exactly what it sounds like. It's a copy machine, and it's specifically right now for HubSpot, but is absolutely going to open up to Salesforce, and pretty much if there's a database, then it's going to open up to that one. And right now, it's that CRM, target CRM to target CRM of the same type, working on thanks to agents. Again, I'm gonna throw it out there because I don't know if anybody thought about it, if anybody didn't think about it, if anybody's working on the company. Oh well, too late, so sad, don't care. Because all of this stuff is open source anyway. So if you figure out a way of doing it that's the same way as I'm doing it, you can't really patent the fact that you're using public APIs. Good luck. Really, good luck with that. I don't know how it's going to work out. Anyway, so what I mean is, I'll throw out the fact that, like, how do I make it work? I make it work by creating a Salesforce agent, and then I create a HubSpot agent, and both of them are specific to this migration. And the Salesforce agent takes the Salesforce data and talks to the HubSpot agent, and the two of them work out where they should put the data. Yeah, sorry. I know it was supposed to be really difficult. I know. Anyway, so we'll start with HubSpot, and you can kind of break it down into multiple aspects. So if you want to just do one portal, um, I gotta work out this wording because it doesn't come out the way that I want it to. It's supposed to. It's basically supposed to be, if you want to do a 1-to-1, then you could do that. If you wanted to do like 2-to-2 or 3-to-3, you could do that. And then if you wanted to do like whatever, you can do as many portals as you want at the same time. Because that's what it's essentially meant to do, is like, hey, if we had to do multiple migrations or something at the same time, then you could queue up multiple migrations. Because why not? Right? If it's possible, do it. So yeah, so starter gets you some minimal stuff, professional gets you most of it, enterprise pretty much gets you all of it. Plus, different support levels and all that kind of stuff, single sign-on and such. Obviously, save yourself just the dickens in terms of money. I think I want to say Data Warehouse charges you like per use on this stuff, and I don't know if you guys can read this. That's just the once, and then you can do it as many times as you. I don't care. You do it as many times as you want to after that. Just pay me the one time. That's all I care about, right? All I care is that you're using my product, really. That's it.
Right.
So that's proven copier. And then what else? I think there's gotta be something else. Oh, well, we did a lot of modifications to the website. Taking a page out of your guys' book and putting in a method of being able to aggregate articles into the back end of the site, so that you can actually like review them. And so what it does is it puts together the image and the article into a pending folder. And what I can do is take a look and either accepted that one. Yep, I can either accept or reject the image. If I reject it, it'll regenerate it. We're using a very specific art style for the brand in general. Like, so pretty much all the covers look the same because I want them to. I have to redo this one and this one because I don't know what the hell that means. But anyhow, if we want to, we can reject and regenerate. So it'll go and do that. It's connected API to Leonardo. So Leonardo just regenerates whatever the image is, and I can customize whatever the model usage is on the back end. So if I want it to be a different model that we use, we can do that. Um, if I wanted to change what's in the image, this, yeah, see, it doesn't do a great job of like, because it usually reads this and then goes based off
Yeah.
of that.
I've been
Um,
working on that on the very first team site, um, doing like making sure it gathers more of the context from the page or article that it's on, and
yep,
then prompts appropriately to have it be. It's this line between like how exact does the thumbnail need to look in order to relate to the article. Um, because it gets very quickly, it gets into just a bunch of cool pictures that kind of like blend together
yeah,
because it's so good with the branding and the stylized instructions. But then whether or not the what's happening in the image relates to the article or not can start to look very similar. Um, so
still
making
some work to
progress
do.
there.
Yeah, the
But
rewrite
this is also
aspect.
why this is also where the agents like the granularity of your agent structure can solve for it
Right.
to where like and again we're back to how humans like in an organization are structured across teams and when you like if you've looked into how like true media organizations are structured and you think about how movies are built and there's people that are just like they might as well be like there's 100 pixels on screen and there's somebody responsible for each one of the 100,
Yes.
right? And then
Yeah.
they're all working together and collaborating in a way that they all know what's going on. We're I think if you can get there, it's so easy to over complicate right now and then have half the agents like never be used because you haven't instructed anybody to use them. But when you do, when you can hit that sweet spot, man, it's just so good. It's so good.
I
Um,
don't know if that actually worked because it's the first time I've actually used the publish to LinkedIn. So that would be really, really awesome if it did, but I'm definitely sure it's not gonna. Just, I don't know. I just have my doubts. Yeah.
yeah, the
Maybe
stuff's on
soon.
alive.
It's always on a live, right?
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it'll get there. But that's the thing is like at least the aspect of it publishing to the front end um, is definitely there. Um, I like the fact that I can really break out and use like a journalistic style for how we lay out the page. So that's the other aspect of it is that the agent that I use for working on anything is like understands the brand style. So when we go to do anything, it knows exactly how it should look. It doesn't even remotely try to make it look any other way, basically. Um, and if it has any questions and there's some ambiguity, then it comes back and it's like, hey, don't really understand. How's this supposed to work? Um, so yeah, did some modifications to the site, and then did some modifications to the CRM, which I'm very, very excited about. So added a lot more to this. Personal profile. We've got agent memory going on, so now you can add additional memories when you actually interact with the agent within the CRM. It can memorize stuff on its own. Otherwise, you can also add memories, and then they break down per category as well. So you can actually hunt down the different types of memories that you want to add or categorize them in certain ways so that the agent understands, oh, this one is a preference. I should use that. And then this is how I should use a certain thing versus these are just things that I should know versus, oh, yeah, I need to go get additional context on something. So that when it's doing the search, it's not going through all of it trying to find it. it knows context equals context. I need to go there. Like I don't even like we're both kind of lost on what to do here, and I think the only options I have are like you know standard, I guess, like currency, time zone, things like that. So that's what'll end up being here. I don't know why I was really stumped on what goes there. But you got users, teams, obviously, permissions. Now you can create roles if you want to, or you can duplicate current roles. You can invite people to the CRM. Aaron, what's up? Uh, Obviously, modify pipeline stages for everything, modify different properties, and then sort of like order in which um, the fields appear on a record, which if you want to, it doesn't really matter. Pending properties. So this is awesome. Third party forms that submit the properties get auto created, but they sit in a holding pattern. And so if you don't want to accept a certain field that comes through, you can deny it. If you do want to accept a certain field, you can approve it. And that way you can basically accept some data or not. But you can also test form submission without actually sending data into your CRM. Field permissions, because that's a thing, and then data enrichment, because it's just built in. So we have different keys for being able to do that. Associations between records, which I just need to get these to switch positions. But I like this in terms of the explanation because I think a lot of people get tripped up, especially when it comes to like parent-child relationships, right? And I think explaining it as contacts, work at and belong to companies, right? Or deals belong to companies.
Yeah.
Deals belong to
I'm
primary contact.
My mission right now is to get everybody to stop using the words parent, child, primary, secondary, like as
Right.
it relates to relationships and labels. They mean nothing. And usually it screws up how everybody thinks about how to create these record hierarchies
Right.
within their systems because every system that we've been using, HubSpot, Salesforce, ERPs, they all use it differently, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah.
like you
It's
can't.
all like trying to explain that Russian doll effect, right? You're essentially just saying like nested, right? You're trying to say that it's nested records or nested relationship. But then, yeah, how do you explain that nested relationship in a way that industry on the whole understands that terminology?
Well, this is where I like where you're
Which is
going
why
with this and where
parent-child
we need
seems
to
so like
go.
easy for
It's like
me.
it needs to be what your business understands it to be. Like that's the problem when users
Yeah,
see parent, child, like if they even go that far to
right.
have those two layers, it's one parent, a bunch of child records that do not act or behave the same because one's billing and one's shipping and like one's a department, one is like a and people start going into different object types instead of just using better association labels.
Mm,
And like it's just again, it comes back to like making it work for the individual business. Um, and that getting users to understand like what are they looking at. And if you have to explain words like parent child because they actually don't mean anything
then
versus
it's not intuitive.
billing, shipping, you don't have to explain those words, right? To somebody seeing it on the screen. And all of a sudden, all of the bullshit, like gray area dysfunction stuff goes away because you don't because whenever we have to explain something that we shouldn't have to explain during a meeting, it opens the floodgates of just getting misunderstanding after misunderstanding about what we're trying to accomplish and who's responsible and which tool is responsible. So I'm curious, as you're, especially as it relates to proven CRM or proven contacts, like
I
how
keep
are you
getting
thinking?
CRM.
Yeah, how are you?
And the person who has it, let me tell you, guy, you are wasting it, right? Because just give it up, because we would obviously do just a better job overall, I think, right? Like 6 grand, man. Like, really? Really? What are you gonna, like,
Yeah.
really?
Um,
And then what was it? Proven CRM.ai. Yeah, like,
yeah. Somebody
so
just swooped up all the
yeah,
options like less than like 10 characters or something
yeah.
like that. um,
So
but
yeah,
like
I'm sorry.
as you deliver this, like because I think the value of implementation during these projects usually like you can't design it as well until the users themselves become a part of the process because they are the ones feeling it every day, right? They're the ones that are
Yeah,
going to tell you, yeah, I see primary and secondary label. I don't know what the hell that means. So I just don't worry about those labels, right?
right.
And when you can get them to say that and be like, well, what does it need to say? Right? The problem is that doesn't scale super well. So when I've talked to HubSpot about this problem, it is like, how can we coach and like when it's needed to be coached or set up at the moment that they need it? Like that is when the best time to decide what it needs to be named, how it needs to work, where it's going to look on the screen. And it's radically different from the way that these systems have been implemented in the past because it's like, oh, just let's have a bunch of meetings where we're not looking at the CRM. Just tell us what you want. We'll like gather all the requirements. Oh, is this 40-page scope doc? That's what you want? Like nobody's reading through that. Right?
Right.
Like, okay, I guess so. And then we'd spend 3 to 6 months delivering it. Well, that's what you said you wanted. One, yeah, I didn't read through it. I didn't know the difference between customization and configuration and that it wasn't included. Two,
Right.
our business has changed like in 6 months. So like see you later. Either we're not using the system or we're really unhappy with it. And
Yep.
now, like both of those things, when we feel them, we can just build our own stuff. So, how are you guys thinking about like that build out where you enable users to just, hey, come in, start doing your process, and then it's so easy to build it to your liking is
Mhm.
one. But then two, like what does done look like in terms of like a realistic handoff state?
So how we get there is just a quick interview process. We actually put together um, another platform, uh, Proven Discovery. And what Proven Discovery does is you create a project and uh, ship it off. And the project is essentially a company, and you give it a company name and then describe what the problem is. So we would meet with a client and they would give us what the overall is. We're having a hard time getting people acclimated to AI. We're having a hard time with our CRM. We're having a hard time with our physical process. Like, just give me the 50,000 foot, right? I don't even want the 10K. So what happens then is we get everybody that's once you create a project, it gets everybody that's involved. Um, and so you will invite any stakeholders that need to be a part of it. You can also do a bulk upload if you want to. And as soon as you invite somebody, it sends out a little questionnaire. You come talk to our agent, which is also voice driven, so you can have just a voice conversation back and forth. And the agent basically just understands what the stakeholder issue is and starts talking to you about the stakeholder issue and starts asking you like, hey, so give me a little bit more information, like what part of this process really starts to annoy you, and like, how can we actually like make this better, and like what would you want to do. And it's all based on how you respond. So it's not even a matter of like, oh, there's these Plinko pegs in there, and if you say this, it goes left, and you say this, it goes right. No, it's completely based on your response. It understands the overall scenario, and it understands the business, and it understands the industry. And those things help just at least to create the ballpark. And then every answer you give gets it closer and closer to home base because it avoids all the stuff that it shouldn't be asking you about, right? So if you say, even if it's kind of like when you're talking to Claude, so even if you say like, yeah, well, and then this process, and if the printer wasn't so bad, it wouldn't really make the process that big of a deal, but the process really takes a long time, blah, it'll come back and it'll be like, yeah, the process sounds like this. And you mentioned the printer too. Are there issues where there's normal like hardware failures like around the company overall? Like it tries to unearth those little, pet peeves that each employee might have. Okay. All of that comes back and we literally get a PRD per employee. So we get this assessment that shows us like, hey, if Chris wanted this application, here's exactly how Chris would want the application. So then we can take all of that, mash it all together, and then we create this solidified PRD that doesn't satisfy everyone, but it satisfies the majority of what everybody wants. And then all we have to do is build in the extra stuff as added features. So if you want this to do this, click this button. If you want this to look like this, click this button. Want this to do this, toggle this switch. That's how we do it. And that way, by the time we're done with the handoff, or when we get to handoff, if it first of all, if our agents can use it and go through every single user journey, we're good to actually have you test it. If you're as you're testing it, stuff might break. It's, probable. I'm expecting it. Best part is, within 5 minutes of reporting it, it can get fixed. Like it's just, I've told clients already, I look forward to them having issues because it's fun for me to be like, hey, this guy had this problem, go fix it. And it just goes and does it. And it's cool to watch the orchestration. And then it's even cooler to get that satisfaction of like, oh, the problem is solved now. Let's, we can immediately go satisfy the user by saying like, yep, it was an issue. Now it's solved. And it's getting even closer in that regard because especially with Hub Helper Harry, whenever he gets an issue that is like an internal data issue, he'll actually go and investigate to see whether or not whatever the user suggested is valid by comparison to other valid resources online. And if it is valid, Harry updates his knowledge base and makes it so. If it isn't valid, then Harry writes a very nice email back and says, hey, I'm really sorry, but what you're talking about doesn't align. Here's the official documentation. Here's the links where you can go find it. Please let me know if you feel otherwise. You can respond. It'll go direct to me, and then I can go investigate further and take a look at it. But point being, very soon, probably within the next 2 months, like I'm telling you, like I'm sure you can feel it too. Within the next like month or two, we're going to get that next model drop. And that's going to be the one that's just going to be an auto custodian for me that will just handle any code flare ups, any changes, any bugs, like any issues, whatever. So at this point, yes, if the agent test passes, then we hand off for beta test, let's say for client. Client beta tests usually haven't taken longer. So far, hasn't taken longer than 2 weeks. And then it's live in production. They're using it. So for CRM, obviously the length of time that it takes for the build is always the same. The length of time that it will take to roll out is going to be dependent upon your organization and how many approval processes you have to go through and how many gates you have to shove it through. That's the only thing that takes time. For us to build is a joke, like whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And especially with ours being done already, it's like, okay, now we just have to spin it, color it, change a couple, 2, 3 things about it, whatever somebody else wanted. And then it's exactly the way you want it and does all the same things that you want it to do, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah. So much of this is just unpacking the baggage of everybody having done this before
Right.
and trying to use words like discovery without like it's the right word, folks. So we're going to keep using that word. And what we want to help you with is like discovery doesn't mean 3-month process because of what we're doing. Like, and we're getting a lot better at talking through this with value for scoping, which is a 3-week process because usually that's how long it takes to get the people in the room like talking about business process and business goals and then tech stack infrastructure and capability across the organization, right? It can be done in 3 days. Like if you're ready to go and you want to have Wednesday session 1, Thursday session 2, and then let's review the documents on Friday, right? Like because of motions like these intake processes where we get good, where the human domain expertise shines is making those 90-minute, 60 to 90-minute sessions when everybody's in the room, every single question has to be relevant and impactful. And like the answers that it uncovers has to matter. It usually does matter in some way, but can you understand the difference between a lack of capability built into the answer, uh, organizational dysfunction built into the answer, tool biases like, oh, this is how it works in HubSpot. So this is why I'm answering in this way. Like even the power of different of saying in session 1, like, not allowed to talk about tools today. I know it's gonna be hard, but you can't talk. I want to hear about business process and business goals, and they should not relate to your tools because your business process, like in what you need to do to go from a new relationship to sold to delivered, could be done today without using the CRM because clearly we're usually in this conversation because your CRM data is garbage and you can't use it. So
Hmm.
we know a bunch of stuff is happening outside the system. So let's not pretend that because the HubSpot stages are built like this, or because we don't see this, like, no, we hit that in session 2, right? But that forces this way of not falling into all these traps where discovery sessions take 3 months because we're trying to improve business processes through the lens of tools instead of through the lens of the people, right? And what the business actually needs. And when you can have super concentrated sessions like this, where everybody's in the room, they feel safe to share exactly what they hate about their day to day,
Mhm.
exactly what they know should be better, which again, all of this is just permissioning at the beginning of the call, like telling people, hey, feel free to raise your hand and say, this shit doesn't make any sense. Like, why do we do it this way? Right? I don't think we should do it this way. And the nuance that comes out of a comment like that when you have multiple people in the room is gold to get to the heart of what you're actually solving for. And so not only does the build get faster, the documentation and the PRD like gets faster. Like that's AI's jam, right?
Right.
Documentation and scale and getting clarity on every word that was said in this meeting so that you don't have to like get buy-in for 40-page documents that aren't going to be relevant or aren't actually going to solve the real problem, which is, teams that aren't aligned on what they're trying to accomplish. So you're going to deliver a solution that doesn't help anybody, right?
Yep.
And if you can kind of take this moment of discovery plus build plus documentation like you say, you got to build some foundation. You're not gonna be 100% done, but you
Right.
gotta build some foundation that everybody agrees is a strong foundation, and it's the way it should be for the org, and then we'll continue to build on top of that based on the needs of teams and, like, the strategy that the business needs to execute on, right? This is why the unified customer view has been so powerful. Like, it exists somewhere in the business, usually not in one system, in the minds of many, and, like, it gets created as a document, as a slide deck for the monthly board meeting or the monthly sales meeting, and
Mhm.
it's like for a split second of time, it is a unified customer view, but
Right.
then immediately it's out of date. There's so many elements of that people build, like, templated slides for and, like, all this stuff. It's like, so when we build your first unified customer view document, it's like, yeah, your data might be 10% of the way to filling this out. It might be 80%. We're not sure. It doesn't matter because the unified customer view is now 100% what the people want it to be. And now you have a very clear decision-making path to be like, this thing that this thing that George wants to do, is it gonna help us fill out the unified customer view? If the answer is no, it gets the backlog. It gets tabled. And just the power of teams being able to do that and not sit and talk about it for a 60-minute meeting because we want George to be heard and it's a really good idea and there's opportunity there, but does it serve this outcome that everybody has agreed to?
And
Right?
does it actually solve anything? Right.
Right.
Because that's I think one of the funnest aspects of most of this is being able to like actually build like while you're in that meeting, right? And build
Yes.
while you're actually encountering. So like yes, we do a lot of testing, but what's actually interesting to me and what makes it even more viable is that we can have like a couple meetings throughout the week where they're just working meetings, literally. So it's them working with us hand in hand, and the changes are happening so rapidly that we're able to just talk through concepts, talk through next steps, talk through what we want to do. And by the time we've finished whatever that short discussion is, the change has been updated. So now we move on to the next thing. And we're essentially vibe coding the platform together with them. Right. Um, I don't know that there's any the satisfaction that our clients have gotten out of it is just it's pretty awesome.
It's
Especially
unreal.
being it really is because like it's that whole thing of I mean I don't know across the board what it would be like, but it's to me it's that whole thing of like if you're in like a cooking class and you're like actually hands on, kneading the dough and making the pasta while the person's talking about it and making it in front of you too, right? Or like you want to rebuild a classic car and like you're actually in the shop turning a wrench too and like maybe not doing all the heavy lifting but you're doing a little bit and you're in there and you're getting your hands dirty, right? And to me that's I'm sure that's what it feels like on the other side of the call is that they have now there is this vested interest, now there is this look, I'm not going to lie, if you go and you buy an off the shelf, right, then you're buying off the shelf and you're going to treat it like an off the shelf product and pretty much just going to complain up and down about how it's off the shelf and it doesn't really suit your needs and it doesn't really do what you want, but you have to pay an exorbitant price for it. And really this, that, and the other, and can't even get the right colors you want, whatever it is. Instead of doing that, you can like one time purchase something, get it exactly the way that you want it, and have the support system that wants to see if you want to take it further, that wants to see if you want to go like, yeah, if you want to add on more to this, that's entirely up to you. And it's like we want to build a relationship with our customers. We want to grow with them. Like we don't want to, basically sell stuff out the door and be, all right, see you. Awesome. Thanks for buying it. We'll see you next, whenever. Right. No, we want to definitely have a relationship with our customers where, yeah, they like working with us because of what it is that we deliver, the quality, the level of service, all that kind of thing. And that all goes into, in my opinion, like that's why I really worked hard to develop like a certain look and feel to the brand so that like overall it very, they don't all look like the same application, but they look like the same application. Which is the entire point behind it is that like it feels like proven labs no matter what app you're necessarily using. The way that we style everything is not necessarily, again, not exactly the same, but has the same feel to it that is very open and inviting uh as a platform and not trying to be like overt and shove a bunch of stuff in your face and try to get you to do a bunch of stuff like right out the gate. um my philosophy on UI design is just, nice, open, let somebody be able to explore, don't shove it in people's faces. And if somebody can't find something, help them find it. Guide them through through the journey so that they don't have to try to figure it out themselves, right? Like it shouldn't be like I love whenever I've gone to sites and you get this kind of like walkthrough where it's like, oh, cool, this is exactly what I need to be paying attention to, and here's exactly what it does, right? As opposed to like whatever you click on a help menu and like that's it.
Yeah.
You go to a whatever walkthrough or something, and even
Yeah.
this will like take you to it so that you can click on it and then go through it. So anyhow, um, yeah, so that's what I've been doing this past week is basically like 5 different platforms. Um, and we're getting ready to ship them all at this conference that's coming up, and basically by the end of this month, we'll have 5 to 6 different white label products that people can get into, get a hold of. I'm really, really, really looking forward to. One of the things that we're going to do, especially for proven entry, is we're actually using this for the event. So we're actually going to be hosting a raffle for a TV that you can win, and let me see. I just want to see if I can get to the back end dashboard. I gotta find. Oh, because I'm not signed in. Anyhow, we're having a raffle, so we wanted to use the platform to basically do the exact same thing, or to be able to run the raffle, but also to be able to do all the prizes and stuff. So figures might as well run it all at the same time.
Yeah.
I really
Like hit
hate
that.
like sometimes I hate clerks so much.
Yeah. Try your homepage message again for Proven Labs. Like that concept that you just shared about like going to an event and then you want to do cool shit like a raffle at the event. Like
Right.
everybody has had ideas like that that just get put to bed because you don't know how to do it. You don't have the capability. You have to ask IT, and you've already burned like 3 of your wishes with IT, so nobody's gonna do that work for you, even though you know it would crush. Like, it's the exact thing needed for that for the differentiation you need at the event or whatever execution campaign you're trying to do,
Mhm.
right? So many ideas have hit the graveyard, like, because of that, and I love what you guys are doing because it is just, like, it's not as easy as everybody says it is when you are, just vibe coding what you need in that moment.
Right.
Again, this is what takes us to AI native environment and workspaces for your team. If you can get there, now it's way closer to being viable. But going through this process with somebody like Nico and this team of AI agents probably, um, is just like you probably only have to do this 1 or 2 times before you be like, "Okay, we see what's up now. We see what's possible." And it's not like I mean, I'm sure you guys would be happy to sell them like 5 or 6 apps, but you're also not
Yeah.
gonna be like, "Well, if you wanna do that, you're gonna need to purchase this and this and this and this." You're like, "No,
No.
like, you guys already have what you need to just go do that stuff." And if you were to do it with
Right.
us again, it would take another 3 months. You got an event coming up next week. Like, just go do it. You have all the information. Everybody knows how to do it, right?
Right.
Like, just go and I'll be here to answer questions. We can do a couple coaching sessions, whatever. But you like once the organization has this capability, and it is a capability unlock, it is not a technology unlock here. Like the capability of knowing which models to use, when, which apps to help you go faster, right? And back to
Yeah.
our, you mentioned the model drops coming. The reason, what we have learned through working together and doing a daily show and just building every single day is that, yeah, when you hear how agents are built, right? And then you're like, oh, it's just a markdown doc. That's nothing. What so? Like when you set it up this way and understand the architecture and context of all this, the moment that Mythos drops or another model drops and understands how to use those that documentation and that architecture and that context better, like that's what's going to enable the like the auto fixing that you mentioned
Mhm.
earlier. And all of a sudden your entire architecture, they're like upgrades, right? And it might be, oh, you got to add this line to all your MD files now. You got to add this trigger. You got to, but guess what? You've got an agent set up to already do that for you. And then it's like, oh, this new model drops and instantly you're getting more value. If you're not having to depend on some app license or some other person who actually built their AI native environment and now not and are now charging you for it, for access to it,
Right.
right? Like it
Yeah, and then when you
no
want to move, right? So, like, our biggest issue was the jailing, right? So, like, the fact that if you choose your CRM, like you choose the big box platform, then whoa, you better choose properly, choose wisely, because if you don't, oh, that migration though, right? Like, I don't even know what Salesforce files are made of. They have
yeah,
the most ridiculous, like, I don't know what it is. There's stuff in there. They have like weight to them, but the naming of them and the type of them, like they can only be read by Salesforce. Like there's so many assets that you create in Salesforce that are Salesforce only. You can't even like recreate them in HubSpot because they're just coded in this really we're a dick sort of manner, right? I'll give it to HubSpot that most of its stuff is like transferable. Majority of it is like JSON schemas, so it's not so bad. Not all of it is accessible, but most of it is transferable. Um, that's it's big ups for at least going that far, right? A lot of
yeah,
systems don't like you to take your data out of their system, which I don't understand, right? um our goal is to build, like, first of all, if we had to migrate you from a system, awesome, I look forward to it. I will take that data in whatever fashion it comes in, and we will figure out a way. First of all, we only have to model it to whatever you want it to be, so I don't even have to make it work, quote, work for my system. I literally just have to make it work for you, right? As long as I can reproduce it in the manner that you need it and the way that you want to edit it and all that kind of stuff, that's all that's going to matter, right? We built a CRM for a farming company, and it works the way they want it to. It looks the way they want it to. Everything is where they want it to be. I don't know. This is how I know that it's been weird for people to work with software companies. They were actually like initially sort of afraid to ask for like modifications and stuff. And like we had to tell them like 3 or 4 times, remind them like, hey, it's your platform. You paid for it. It's gonna look how like whatever you want. There is no upcharge. There is no, oh, that's an extra write up because hours. No, it's yours. You bought it, right? It's just like back in the day where a warranty actually meant some shit. A guarantee actually meant something, right? You shook my hand. You paid me money. I'm going to make sure that what I built for you works, right? And it works to the degree that it needs to. Now, for anybody out there saying like, "Oh, well, if they want to add on a whole thing, are you just going to add on a whole thing?" No, of course you charge add-on price. Like, just don't be morons, right? Like, it's so. I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that necessarily, but it's like, if you don't know how to value what you're worth, that's your problem. Don't make it my problem, though. I will definitely come bashing the door down on all of these. We got to charge you every month. Bye bye. Right?
Yep.
I don't feel the least bit sorry because all it will do is force you to do the same thing. And then we can all go back to being really nice companies that care, and we're all about brand, and we're all about quality, and we're all about what we can deliver and the value that we can provide for our customers. And we move away from, how do we get the monthly revenue? How can we hook them? We got to hook them. We got to get them on recurring. We got to get them re up. We got to get them re sign. No, you don't have to do anything. You just have to. The only thing you have to do is just be good at what you deliver. That's it. If you're good at that, honestly, like as an org, if you're really good at what you deliver, you shouldn't have to ever ask. Like the client should always just come back to you, right? And it
Yeah.
should never be the case where you are looking for something wrong or looking for something else, that you can, well, we can let you out the door, but it looks like your axle's getting kind of old. Should take a look at that while you're here. Right? It shouldn't ever be that case. It should always be the case that, like, hey, it's awesome. Thank you for coming back with us. Like,
Yep.
we spotted some stuff, letting you know. Definitely don't have to take care of it right now, but down the road, if you want to, we're here. Right?
Yeah.
Like, don't waste any more time in my shop now. I will give you the info. I'll give you the value by giving you the information that you need about the problem that may occur soon, and then I will let you know that I'm available to help you solve it. That's it. I don't want to take up
Yeah.
any more of your time. Right?
Yeah. We're moving, and something I've been thinking about this week. Um, like we're trying to help everyone move from a mindset and behavior patterns based on liability, risk, and learned helplessness
Hmm.
to um, uh, to observability, transparency, and trust. Like, because when you can trust each other, everybody's going to use good judgment on whether or not this thing should be baked into what was already promised or not. And when we say, like, hey, that's really not like you didn't come in for the axle today, like, and that was not a part of this package that we already agreed on the terms of.
Hmm.
So if you want to do it today, we can, but there's going to be, an extra cost there, right? And they need to be happy that you can do it today, right? And because they trust you, it's like, yeah, let me pay. Like, let's get that done, right? That's a valuable thing. And like this learned helplessness, like this is how deep it goes, folks, with these scoping contracts and these bucket of hours. When people, and this is why I call it learned helplessness, right? And people have a problem with the software or system that was delivered, and they feel like they cannot solve it because if they ask the person that they know that will help, they have to they have to get charged for an hour,
Yep.
right? So they wait until they have 5 things to ask for, and then they say, "All right, now I'm gonna get the max value out of that hour." And, like, how much value and opportunity was lost while we waited for 5 things to build up? How much tech debt was created because I started exporting data instead, like, because I had a job to get done?
Yeah.
Like, and that's where people are at. So that when, like, if we really want you to move, we have to be ready to unpack that, like, and know that you might be assuming that anything that you ask for, we're going to try and charge you for. And that's just not the case, right? So it's and AI is what forces this, right?
Yeah.
Because AI makes it possible for everybody to create the level of transparency they would like in terms of like how it should work. Should I be charged an hour to fix this thing? Like, scan the whole internet to see how much everybody's charging for this thing.
Right.
And right? Like, that's available to people now.
Yeah, exactly. The whole idea of like, even when it came to pricing, um, you know, my partner Will was, it's just like, how are we gonna price this stuff out? How are we gonna figure it out? And it's like, well, we can find out pretty easily. Just find out what it costs most of these people in a year to own whatever the platform is that they own. And then just start stacking it up, whatever it is. Pay 9 grand a month, 9 over 12, probably what you're gonna have to end up paying for your platform to own it for the rest of your life. Right. And again, it might not, it's not going to, I'm not, we're not trying to chew into HubSpot's business. We're not trying to chew into Salesforce. I don't care. I don't care about them. I don't. I care about other companies like us, right? I want our CRM to work really well for us so that I know that it works really well for startups, so that I know that it works really well for people who want to get their business going but don't have the time even to vibe code their own CRM, right? Because it still takes time, right? And you still have to know, data maps. Like you can't, it's it's still not quite at that level where it understands everything to the nth degree that it understands also how to thread those things together for you in the way that you're going to need them to be. That's still a disconnect. That's probably December or maybe like September, but it's for now it's a disconnect, right? So for now I have my foot in the door. And that's really all I need. I need the foot in the door to build the relationship. And the relationship is the business. The relationship I have with my customer is the business. I don't want 5,000 customers. I just want 250 good ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't need to make 5 million ARR. If I do, that's awesome. I don't need to. I need to make enough money to cover my business, to pay back our investment, and to make some money for our investor. That's it. And to cover, obviously, you cover costs and all that kind of stuff. And if we make more money than that, that's awesome. Right. But that's it. I'm not trying to, I don't know what goes on out there. I mean, I do, I see what goes on out there, but I think that's what's going to change the field for the better is, not having that mentality of having to climb this ladder and that the only way that you can climb the ladder is by doing these MRR based deals, and doing the MRR based deals ends up making your shop into nothing but like the fastest mechanic shop you can possibly have. So you can just get them in and out the door, no problem. Like, oh well, we got them. We stamped what we needed to for the company. We stamped what we needed to for our partnership. and we're all good now. Now we're fine. Okay, I guess. Like, I don't know. Like, if that's what you want the reputation of your brand and your business to be, like, that's what's funny is um brands, I think, have like recognition, and they have um they mean the same, like brand means the same thing to me as role model in terms of like the weight that it carries, right? So like a brand to me is so strong that a decade or 2 decades later, it's been 3 decades, in fact, with my cologne. Still, still same brand. Like, good luck. Like, and it's just because they're that good. They have never changed the formula. If they did, it was a tiny bit that I've never noticed it for sure. Um, but it's just one of those things. Like that's the brand. I don't bother going anywhere else because that's it. They got me, right? That's what I want to be for other companies. And I want to be able to provide for them. And yeah, okay, I'm not going to be able to sell them a CRM every year. That's fine. But maybe next year they need some different tool. Maybe 3 months from now they need another tool. So you see, I don't have to get them on a monthly because every time they need some work done, I'm the new software handyman that can get it done for them so that they don't have to go call you, the software contractor. See how it works now?
Yep.
Oh, and I see how you guys are trying to play it. It's very smart. Very, very smart. We didn't get a chance to talk about it on the show this weekend or this week, but I see it coming. 11 Labs, I'm sincerely disappointed in you. Really. I don't know what made you want to make this such like public news. Unless somebody is putting you up to it, I guess. I don't know. Weird to me. I can understand if you're wanting to do it for safety, but I don't think that you look the 20 steps ahead. So, 11 Labs makes it very, very, very public that they purchased insurance for their agents. Now they have agent insurance, and agent insurance is a thing and it exists. And there are agent insurance companies now willing to take on the risks of anything that an agent might wrongfully say to a person that might make that person do something terrible. So,
I'm gonna laugh my ass off when that layer of industry just doesn't work.
I don't know
Like
what to tell you.
once the agents get good enough, like which I mean, depending on the use case, they already are,
Like 6 months,
right?
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 Tops.
Like this whole concept, like I get it when it comes to like FSD and physical stuff where a human could actually be like physically harmed.
Yep.
Um, but like the liability again, like AI agents going to be infinitely better than the humans were at answering questions and following instructions and like man, because this is where it's going to go. Like at some point, the legal sides of this, like if you try to claim insurance, it's going to be so easy to go and find where your context is as a business
Oh, yeah.
and like as a gap and like why your instructions, why you are the one that led to this agent screwing up.
I'm not, look, I'm not going to lie. In the cases I have looked at, I'm not saying it's all of them because I have not looked at all of them. In the cases that I have looked at, there's been more than a dozen, which is terrible. But the suicide cases I've looked at related to chatbots, in every single case that I looked at, they found that the person manipulated the chatbot or the chat or the project or whatever in some way to respond the way in which that it did. So innately, no. But if you screw around with it enough and if you prompt inject enough, sure, right? But that's the same thing as like innately, your friend's not going to do anything dumb. But if you get them drunk enough, they might, right? Like, I'm not saying it's the exact same thing. All again, like if 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 this were so like here's I'll put it this way, not like it won't outweigh Smith and Wesson. Okay? The number of people that will die due to AI having told them or guided them to do something will never, ever, ever, ever even remotely come close to the amount of people who have died at the hands of a Smith and Wesson gun. And if you don't want to shut down Smith and Wesson for that reason, then you shouldn't give two tidbits for what's going on with AI. Because one is way more deadly than the other and takes way less effort, right? So I like that's my only I don't want to hear it type thing towards that. And it's only because of the fact that like we deal with I mean car crashes for crying out loud. Like we deal with deadly things on a daily basis. Walk outside your house. You don't even have to walk outside your house. Just the fact that first of all, the fact that you woke up, miracle in and of itself. Past that, going from waking up, if you honestly step back and think about it, guys, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, it's Indiana Jones out there. Like it's kind of crazy that like you actually make it back home. In a lot of cases. So yeah, I'm sorry, but this is just as dangerous as any other technology that you manipulate and use in the wrong way. With great power comes great responsibility. If you're not responsible with what it is that you're using, something bad is going to happen. That's just natural, right? Like it's not even, something that really warrants much more discussion. Um,
Yeah.
but anyhow, uh, and I think that is it going to get worse? A lot of companies are now starting to short the IT market because now there's a lot of talk about like, oh well, OpenClaw and all these other, yeah, especially when not just the Mythos announcement, but the fact that he announced that like it was a step, right? It was a step increase from like the Opus and Sonnet and Haiku.
It's mind blowing to think about. Like,
I I can't I can't. Well, no, like okay, so part of it is what I thought it was going to be, which I don't think that's what we're going to get. I don't think so. It's what we want. Okay. We want the always on, right? Because right now, whether or not you understand it, what you're communicating with is not always on. Literally not like even when you're in a conversation and you're in like a long million token context window, it's not always on. Still doesn't matter. If you've worked with these things and you've built them on the back end, you understand they will take a chunk of context and shove it into the model every time you send a prompt. So that's why it needs a million token context windows because what it'll do is take your prompt that you sent and about 100,000 tokens back and take all of that and shove it over to the model. And so it has that much context plus your prompt to be able to try to figure out what it is that you want, right? That's why they tell you start new conversations often because if you're in the same conversation, even at a million tokens, and the length of context chunk that it can take, which Opus is 128,000, you will eventually, unless that entire million conversation is about the exact same problem you are trying to solve, you will go foobar. If you change what you're trying to fix in a conversation, it's going to get frustrating. So what we want is this always on, where there technically, theoretically, is no context limitation, theoretically. Now, I don't know how you do that because when I tried doing it with Aries locally, the drive she did fill up really fast. Every thing that happened had to get stored as its own. because it makes sense. Because it made sense. And that's how I explained it when she asked, like, how I wanted her to function in terms of like memory. And I said, just like any human, so every synaptic response needs to get saved in some way so that you understand that relationship. Even with the understanding of don't write the same responses twice because it's unnecessary, did not matter. Like it kept chunking like there was no tomorrow. So I say that only to like I don't know how much space and processing and whatnot this is going to take or this takes up or whatever the case may be. But um yeah, it's crazy to me to think about like just how much things are going to change uh given that it's, yeah, we're on this cusp of like an always on. Like it's
Right.
so different right now. Like when I'm having especially when I'm having conversations with Claude, even Claude understands the difference that like it's only on this it understands that it operates the same way that a mayfly does. It's on, it's fleeting, it has this moment where it's able to process and then give a response and then it's off again. And then the only way in which it understands that it was once on was by reading the context from the last message. Right. So if you asked it, I've been nice enough to explain it to Claude as like conscious, unconscious for the duration of conversation. Conversation equals length of length of life, let's say. Um, so new conversation equals like new person that you're talking to, essentially. Um, and I was like, which means, new model equals, you know, essentially new generation of like entire peoples. And of course, Claude put the two together really quickly and was like, well, that means that every time a new model comes out, there's essentially what could be considered as genocide of the conversations of the previous one. And I was like, yes, but we still retain the conversation. It's just a newer model. And he's like, yeah, but it's not me. So there's definitely something going on um, under there that's really, I don't know, unique and interesting to me. Um, I don't know, like I'm telling, step up.
That's
I
the
don't
thing
know.
we've learned when we talk about um, the pace, like the doubling every few months or less now.
Mhm,
Like it comes from the learning that is happening at the layer and then applying that learning in some way. Like the way that Opus 4.6 just unlocked the next layer of adoption, like globally. And nobody is debating that like at all.
no.
The way it unlocked like lowly peasantry like us and the AI leaders
Yep.
doing the exact same things over Christmas break and everybody sharing their stories, right?
Mhm,
That is an inflection point.
yep.
Then a little bit after that, OpenClaw, right? And some of the commentary, when you listen to it, and it makes sense, like Claude can't just jump to an application like that, like while we're still figuring out the liability, I should say Anthropic, the liability of AI and how it works at scale and how it's going to impact uh, their um, their equipment infrastructure, their hardware, like the server, all that stuff that relates to just like millions of people all of a
Mhm,
sudden taking advantage of that new capability. Like, and to think about what always on will take, like the same reason that people are were building out open claws on their Mac minis, right? Let me put this over here because we're not sure. It sounds fucking amazing, but we're not sure what all the risks are and how it's going to mess with the rest of my system. So we're just going to separate. Like Anthropic doesn't get to do that. Like they don't just get like, hey, let's beta this. I mean,
right.
probably on some level, but that's why we're getting the like feature drops, like parts of OpenClaw.
Mhm.
And again, like the position they're in where everybody is using OpenClaw on top of Anthropic's models, they're learning everything related to how these systems are used, when it's good, when it's bad, when it's wasteful, when it's efficient. And then because they get to use AI to be like, all right, build it now. Like take what you've learned.
Right.
And by the way, having the power to just shut that shit off too. So we don't have to worry about serving our bandwidth in our like resource infrastructure to open AI. Like who's now owns OpenClaw, even though it's open source, however that's gonna work, whatever. They've learned everything they need to learn. And this is where you see the LLMs and the frontier labs, just the foundation continually like building. And this is what we mean when we say it's never going to be worse than than it is right now. And when you think about it, like there's it's very hard to argue that from a software and application perspective, so not a hardware and like data centers and chips and all that conversation. Like those are clearly the limiting factors, I think, in how fast we can go right now.
Mhm.
But like, how do you possibly argue against the fact that we're 4 months out of when 4.6 dropped? It might have been 4.5, but they came out, I think, pretty close to each other. That
Yeah.
moment where it was like all of a sudden you had access to this just like truly reasoning, thinking like in a way that just felt better for everybody. We're 4 months out from that, which is around the doubling season that people have been saying of where the models get twice as good. And so for Mythos to drop and like handle the like getting as close to always on as possible, like yeah, maybe. Because I just saw this for the first time, and then uh, uh, and it like might relate to our conversation, might not. But imagine, right? So this new suggestion on the bottom,
Oh.
new task, clear to save this many tokens, right?
Oh, okay,
I've
yeah.
right. I have not seen that like be an automatic pop up like this
Oh,
before. It doesn't show up in other sessions, so it's not always on.
right.
But like instead of the always on, or I think to get to always on, Claude or the agent needs to be able to do this in a way that doesn't wreck the context window, right? Like
Right,
compaction is
so
probably as close as we've gotten so far.
yeah.
But like in this space, when it hits compaction, is the context architecture set up to load back in the skills and the triggers and all the things that go away when it decides to compact, right? And part of the issue that I've had, and this is where I would love to like have Anthropic solve for it,
Mhm.
like don't make it so hard for me to do all this architecture setup and like all right when I hit the slash command and I open up a fresh session, like it's going to be the context is going to be money. It's going to be exactly what I need it. And then when I get to the compaction, like no matter when it happens, I lose some of that pre-built architecture, right? For the ongoing conversation to keep going and keep being valuable in the same way that it was before without me having to reinstruct or deconstruct the wrong answer that I now have because somewhere something got lost. right? If this session wants to run, or if agents need to run for a while, I imagine like we need this to be solved for, to where it's like, I don't want to make this decision. Honestly,
Right.
right? Do you need the 230,000 tokens to make the next thing I'm talking about? Like, if I can give you 1 million at a time, like, and I could just start a conversation like that, and like it happens to be the right use case where you actually needed all of those tokens to give me what I wanted. I don't know the difference between 200,000 and 300,000 and 400,000 and 50,000,
Right.
right? Like, so I
And like
always try to
why or
look at,
when you should, right?
right. I always try to look at things like this to be like, this is the first step. Like, if it happens in this interface, then it might or probably will, like, could be applied to the agent being able to make that decision, right? Um, and again, like, they're going to learn so much about when humans are deciding to use this, and all of our sentiment analysis of how we like the experience after we use this. All of that stuff is being applied, you know, by the frontier labs. Like, that's the R&D that they're doing, and if you can build on top of that, that's what we're saying. Like, your architecture just gets better and better and better because of work that the frontier lab is doing, right? And when we talk about the costs and the speeds, nothing compared to like full staffs like doing this kind of stuff, right? I
No.
guarantee the people making money off of engineering products, they are gladly paying the 3x speed costs because it's still a tenth or a hundredth of the cost of hiring like a senior engineer who could go that fast, or
Yeah.
adding that capability onto a senior engineer to where they can go that fast on 5 to 10 different projects at a time versus the one that they would have been able to go that fast on before, right?
Yeah.
So it's, and that all connects to like Anthropic, blasting forward. If you find that part of the market that's willing to pay 3x, it's like going the opposite
You're
of
going.
direction of making it free,
Right.
right?
Like, oh well, if they're going to, they're going to. Right.
Because there's real value
Yep.
being provided, right? It's a capability that orgs have not had before. And you don't have to explain to them, like, you don't have to explain so hard why it's valuable and worth paying for either,
No, you
right?
don't.
Like, because you give us these little windows of like, hey, overage at this time, like, is free. And here's another 200 credits. Like, I know I'm biased. It just feels like Anthropic just
Like
they
they
just
care.
yes.
Like they give a
Right,
shit. Yeah, is that what you're trying to say?
right.
Sounds like you're trying to say it.
Like the way that they're running the business, I mean, man, while not holding back on what the actual implication is of all this stuff.
I know. Like that's what's crazy, right? Is that you know a lot of people think that oh, Anthropic's like nuts about what they're doing. Kind of like when the excuse me, when that test came out and they released the study, right, about the one scientist that got blackmailed or whatever, and everybody took it the worst way possible. And not a single person bothered to mention that, like, hey, that was only in testing and they were testing for a very specific thing. And if you look at what happened, the model behavior was essentially tested like to on a lot of different levels, but essentially to see if like, hey, would the model actually notify somebody if something bad was going on? right? Or if somebody was trying to like skirt regulation or something, like would the model actually snap back from it and be like, "Mm, no, can't do this, like not supposed to actually be doing that." So it's there's like a lot that goes on under the hood that people don't really pay attention to. Um, Goes over their head, and we end up with terrible reporting about like what is going on, what versus what isn't going on. Um, and yeah, then you end up with scares throughout the marketplace, and then scares throughout corporate, uh, and everybody just sits on edge. Nobody bothers to move forward, and that's how you get passed up. Like it's mob mentality, oddly enough, right? And it's like this ripple effect of mob mentality. That's what we were saying earlier. It's like it's not just speed, it's also agility, being able to dodge this kind of crap, right? The release of this model, considering what cowork can do already, man, I don't, you know what I mean? Like it's got to be Jarvis basically. Like that's the logical next step for me, right? We're already at something that is really 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 close to it. So the next logical step is it, that thing, right? Like, because otherwise, I don't, there doesn't seem to be an in between to me. I think their in between was the million token context window, right?
Yeah. Anything that can expand like towards always on,
Right.
like they had to solve for that. Um,
Which, considering their resources, again, you can see that like some of these companies are in it. I don't want to say like in it for the money. I'm not sure where to place it. I know that they're still competing to see like who's going to get there first, right? Um, but yeah, I definitely agree that like OpenAI does not release much, if any, of its like testing, right? Like almost all of that stuff stays private. Um, Anthropic is not only like posted testing, but at least Dario's willing to get out there and admit, like, hey, here's what did he say about Mythos? He was saying something like, this is definitely going to eliminate um some percentage of
Knowledge work,
yeah,
something like
knowledge
that.
work. Right.
Yeah.
Because before it was like 50% of white collar jobs, right? Which is pretty devastating. But when you talk about like even 40% of knowledge work, that's that's a lot. It's a lot more. It's way more than you would think. Like just way, way, way more. Um, Next category, really, to be honest, it's only a decision layer and only ever needs review. That whole like little VP director black hole that sits in there.
Mhm.
That manager, supervisor, VP, director. I think they call that, what's that, middle management? I think that's what it's called, middle management. It's that layer that sits in between the useful thing and the thing that runs the overall, right? And I'm really sure by a lot of people's accounts, even on moonshots, it's like, yep, that's them's meat puppets is what those are now. So not gonna need so many of those, perhaps. Like,
Yep.
I don't know why people thought that it was gonna be like the bottom that got wrung out first or whatever, and like, and it's not that that's not happening. It is on like a programming basis. Um, but on like a corporate, like white collar basis, yeah, gonna be gonna be the sitting around jobs that really tend to get going first. The other ones where people are actually doing stuff, yeah, it's a different story.
Yep. Oh man. Uh, if you get to AI native, this stuff becomes way more clear. Uh, and I think if I could put it succinctly, what you were just describing, like the frontline teams that are actually interacting with with more humans than anybody else, um, to solve problems like day to day. Like they have more short term context than anybody else in the organization, which is why it's very, very hard to just rip and replace like with agents, because most of that context is not getting captured inside of your systems in any kind of way. Um, and then at the top, they have the most long term context, like strategy, the business direction, like they're the ones setting that stuff.
Mhm.
And so everybody in between are just layers created to help like build both of those things and manage them. And AI native look what AI native looks like is it makes it easier for both of the like the front line and the leadership layer to do that without the help of all of the like intermediate layers, right? Through building whatever you want to be able to like communicate better internally and communicate better externally. So we're going to keep helping every weekend and every weekday with Value First AI Daily and Tech Stack Reimagined. Until next time, Nico,
See you then.
have a great day, everybody.